Well, good afternoon. I'm Rick Dancer. Welcome to Live with Rick Dancer. We had a show planned for you today. We're going to take you through a new hotel in town, but they're putting in tile, so we had to cancel. We are going to get to it. It is going to happen. But I got something really fun coming up this afternoon at 2 o'clock. You guys are going to love this. A local musician, a friend of mine who's a barber in town, contacted me, and a friend of his who plays the trumpet is going to join me. He's going to meet me at 2 o'clock downtown. So we'll do a live from downtown, and he's got a show coming up this weekend, so you're going to love it. But the reason we're here right now, and I'm not ignoring you, but I'm going here and posting this on my other page. We're here right now because what the hell is going on? Can you guys believe this? I mean, I was kind of stunned to wake up this morning. Not that people like Matt Lauer couldn't do what he's being accused of doing, but it's just a little bit shocking when it's like every day there's somebody. And then Garrison Keillor. I'm driving in the car from Wandering Goat from my coffee today, and I hear that Garrison Keillor's there's some accusations out there about him as well, and it's just it's crazy. Hi Daniel, how you doing? So I just wonder what you guys are thinking about all this. I know you have to be really careful because there's a fine line, and you don't want to judge too soon. But it's also like we did a show on this yesterday. It's really coming out with people it showed there's something wrong in our country. And I'm not one of those, the whole world is falling apart. But it's there definitely is something is up, and for this to be so rampant, and you wonder how much of it is power. I mean, I'm no expert on any of this. I did talk to a friend of mine, Karen Mitchell, yesterday, and she was explaining some of this to us. So I don't really know details. I'm not into that, to the counseling world or that kind of thing. But man, it sure seems like this is a lot of guys in power with money thinking they can get away with whatever they want to do. And I find that it's a little scary, actually. Plus, I think it kind of reflects on our culture, because we look at how many times have we heard about this and we just let it go. And I can look at cases in the past where if these men were powerful enough and they had enough money, even some of the organizations fighting this sort of thing put a blind eye to it and ignored it and looked away. They allowed it to happen. So, who's guilty? I think a lot of people in our country are guilty. We allowed this to get to this point where it's, people that... And sure, we're surprised and shocked because you don't know what's going on. It's been going on forever. Now I think women finally feel safe and powerful enough to talk. I agree, Dennis. I mean, you can go back to the Kennedys. Look at all the stuff that was going on with the Kennedy family. And I'm not just picking on Democrats. I mean, you can go to anybody. But that was the media just turned and looked the other way, And there's been more recent cases of presidents and people, and even our current one, I guess, where people have allowed things to happen because there's a position there and everything. And I think now women are feeling like Dennis says, I don't have to put up with this anymore. And the climate is right. Hey, Rick, how are you doing? Jason, I'm doing great. Doing really great. Had a couple of show cancellations today. A guy called me who plays the trumpet. He's going to meet me downtown in a couple hours, and we're going to do another show on that. So you're just so... No, this doesn't have to do with them. That's a great Paul Body. It's time that men finally start learning how to properly treat females, women, ladies, and girls, and how to treat humans in general. Yeah, I agree. And I guess it's, like Karen said yesterday, it's drawing lines. I don't know. I'm trying to be real careful here, stuff. Some of it's a little scary because, we all have, when I'm at the gym, I'm making comments not about women. Usually it's to guys we're just farting around, and we're not talking about women that way. But we're making little innuendos, and it kind of bothers me because I'm thinking, gosh, I hope somebody would tell me if that was bothering. We're just talking about Matt Lauer, and several of my coworkers said, well, come on, they are all just trying to say little things were worse. I think women are now empowered to speak out. Heather, I would agree with you. I think women are feeling empowered to speak out, and you wonder. I don't think it should stop. I had somebody write on my page this morning, I wonder how many politicians are running around really nervous right now. Yeah, I mean, this is rampant in the political realm. And I guess the part, it's there's so much arrogance to it too. It is, I don't know. It is, do you go as far as to say, what does that say about our culture? If I was gonna, I'm trying to be sensitive and careful here, but I mean, when did we? I don't know. I think it's. We all kind of have to look at our lives and say, look. Seriously, in this country, sex is a huge problem. Sexual addictions, pornography. How I've always wondered how much does all the pornography on the internet is terrible. I put in something the other day I can't remember what I was typing in, and all of a sudden all this stuff came up and I was like, I was like, then speak out as a person at the time. A truly empowered person doesn't wait till later or hurt someone. They stop the behavior by calling it. But Betty, here's the thing, and I understand what you're saying, because I would agree with you in terms of if somebody is bothering you, and I've done this myself in the wrong way. But if you're rather than talking about someone in the back behind their back, you should talk to them up front. But not every woman, not every person can do that. Thanks for keeping this in front of us all. You're welcome. Not everybody can do that, and you can't put your expectations on that. And you don't. What if it's your boss? I mean, what's somebody in a powerful position? And a lot of these women have learned you get fired if the boss does something like that. And I don't think it's not that easy. And I think it's really simple, Betty, to just slap it with a brush and say, they should have come out. And and you know what, for them, if we start from today and say, let's create a culture where women and men who are in this situation, who someone is sexually being inappropriate, or abusive or rape or anything like that. Let's make a culture where people do feel. But there's too much past where people didn't believe you. So if you said, Matt Lauer did this to me, that you would be the one losing your job and your career and your life and everything else, and he would have there'd be nothing. What is going on right this second is brand new. This didn't happen. I mean, Garrison Keillor, Matt Lauer, I can't even think of some of the other ones. And Karen, as Karen says, sometimes that behavior is addressed, but it's not corrected. And if you've never been, let's take it out of the sexual realm, but have you ever been on the end of something where you're dealing with somebody and they turn it on you? I mean, I have something going on in my life right now where we knew if you go after these people the way that I normally like to go in and I'm just going to report this and tell people what's going on. They turn it on you. And so they switch it on you, so you end up looking like the bad guy. There's some very, very manipulative, horrible people out there. And I'm not saying anybody on this Matt Lauer or any of them are horrible people. But people can be very manipulative. And it's my least favorite people are passive aggressives, because they will take it and turn it, and then all of a sudden you start looking like the asshole when they're the asshole. And that's what happens to a lot of people, and I think it happened, I hope, to a lot of women on both sides. Exactly, Betty. So yes, Betty, let's say you are right. It would be nice from here on out if we lived in a culture, and I'm hoping this happens, where women can feel like they can now stand up and people will listen. But a year ago, that wasn't the case. You speak up, and you become not only the victim of the perpetrator, but now you become thrown through the public and God, that would be too rough to say that, but you're abused again, and then you feel even worse because you're left. Can you imagine how frustrating that would be? Okay, let me paint a couple of scenarios. To be first a woman, Your boss comes in and does that to you, and then you still have to work with the guy, you know? And then, and you know every day you're sitting there facing this dude and what he did and how it made you feel, and you can't do anything about it. They need to make laws against non-disclosure agreements regarding sexual harassment payoffs. Oh, Michael, I love that. Exactly. Yeah, like Weinstein, I saw Sunday morning, he paid off this woman like $1 million to keep quiet. $1 million. I mean, those are people who have power and money, and they used to be able to buy their silence, other people's silence. And then what's terrible about it, and I don't blame the woman at all. I mean, you wish that people would not have to do it, but what was your recourse? You know, I don't know, and that's a personal story. I am not going to get into a judgment thing here. Betty, your question brings great discussion, and in some situations you are completely correct. I agree, Karen. But let's do this, Betty. Let's take your comment and say that's now. That's from here on out. Is that women and men? Because this happens in not so much. I don't know. I don't think it's as prevalent in the heterosexual male community, but I know it happens in the gay community to men too. So, what do they get to do? That we create a society, a culture where we take people seriously when they bring this up, and you can't go to court and buy your way out of it. I know that's a huge pipe dream, and you know I'm a what is that called when you I'm an idealist, and idealists are often kind of stupid. Because we really do believe that the world could be a better place. And I really do. I know the human frailty that I have, and I know the human frailty of others, and it pisses me off. But I also know there's a lot of really good people out there. I think that social media, I stick up for it because I work in it. But I think it can do good things. Because right now we're talking about this, and we're giving it a voice. And Betty's able to make her comment, and we're able to, Karen and everybody, talk nicely about it. I fear, though, we are creating a culture where it is terrifying to be a male because it's simply accusations. Betty, I agree to a point on that. I mean, it makes me fearful. I got people, I get 2 a week about of guys who use my picture on dating sites to try to get money out of women. Now, what if that comes back to me? That would be kind of, and that bothers me. You know, now, it didn't, a week and a half ago, it didn't bother me. Stats on men are harder to get because they often don't speak up. Look at all the cases of female teachers, though, with young boys. That's true, Karen. That's true. And this also for people, as long as we're being really open and abrupt, you know, and conversational here. When I used to do some work with women's space, it happens a lot in the lesbian community as well, abuse towards each other. It's a growing problem as well. So, I mean, which is kind of stupid to say because we're all human beings. And obviously there's a sex issue in our culture where we, you know, and one of the things that has always bothered me is that more can't be done about pornography. You know, I know there's freedom of speech, but I mean, when kids can go on and type in, you know, dick or something like that, and all of a sudden horrible things come up, well, is that healthy? You know, I mean, I'm a pretty big free speech guy, but it seems to me that I wonder. Here's my question. This could get me into trouble. When our forefathers were coming up with the amendments and looking at free speech, I know there was, you know, Benjamin Franklin was screwing around with girls, and I mean, I've read all that kind of stuff, but I wonder if they ever really knew how low pornography could go. I mean, to kids, and I don't know, maybe there's something in history that shows us. I'm sure there's been pedophiles in the past, but how low and low and low and low and low. When I was in the news business, I was just stunned by some of the stuff you see. and I'm not trying to get on some morality kick. Yeah, God gave us free will. I agree, Paul. Um, but sometimes I think yeah, I agree. We should be able to choose yes or no. Um, but some of it, I mean, you know, what I saw in the news business was just that. I don't even consider that pornography. That was just trash. Pornography is an addiction. Yeah, it is for people, and it does create, especially when you're a young boy, and that's where you're learning it from. I think all of us in the '60s and '70s, Playboy was where you saw your first naked woman. And now that's probably bad enough. Now it's really, there's some real bad stuff out there. It's a problem in all directions. It's tough to be a woman in many ways. It's also very tough to be a man. A young man being sexually abused by a woman. Imagine trying to come forward about that. Yeah, exactly. That would be tough, because then all of a sudden, what, you didn't like it? Kids are exposed to such a young age, and it changes their lives. We're discussing at the state level now how to change the way we teach kids that porn is not empowerment, it's slavery, literally. Yeah, I think that, that would be really, when I've met with, guys and talked about stuff like that, it almost always comes up. When you're meeting with people who are dealing with issues and problems. I think pornography is huge for males, because we're visual. The visual for women. I think you think guys are cute. I'm not talking about that, but I'm thinking men. It's a very visual sexual thing, and for women, and maybe I'm wrong, but from talking to what people I've talked to, then it's not the same. It's not the eye gate. For the man, and the woman is more through feelings and heart and emotion and that kind of stuff, and that gets you into trouble. I think that's what every guy should look at too. Is the standards when we were younger? It's all changed, and so you have to be careful. And I found the good news, I guess, is I found in the gym this morning. I was going to make some snide comment to a friend of mine who's a guy, but we were just and it had nothing to do with women or anything like that. But it had an innuendo in there, and I didn't say it. I kind of closed my mouth because I thought, wonder if that's offensive to someone. Whereas 2 weeks ago, I wouldn't have even thought about it. Is that good? Probably. Do I like it? No, because it was a funny comment. It was going to be really funny, but maybe it's good. And me as a guy of faith. I think sometimes God just does that, and He just exposes things and all that kind of stuff. So, you never know. So I do, I think I watched the NBC thing with Matt Lauer, with the two ladies. I don't watch the news or anything, but I watched the thing online. And it was kind of sad watching them, because you could tell they were stunned. And that would be really hard. And it's hard too, because either they liked him and he's their friend, and yet they find out later what's going on. And that'd be hard. That'd be that hard thing to process and go through and stuff. So Karen, what do we do? What do we take? In fact, I would love to hear from you. And so what do we take from this? Because you and I just yesterday were talking and saying, who will it be tomorrow? And we weren't really thinking there was going to be somebody yesterday. I think you just say that because every day it's been somebody different. But I'd be really curious to find out from you. How do we take that? What do we do with that? So I'm inviting you on. If you see that, you should see a little invitation on there. As long as you're not driving, you should see an invitation coming up on your screen to bring you on, and I'll see what you're thinking. My husband was exposed to it, and he was a young family member, and the images were burned into his brain, and it's affected his life tremendously. Yeah, well, that's brave of you to say. You have a really nice husband. Cool guy. There she is.
Hello.
Hey, how you doing, hon?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing well. Oh, I lost you.
Yeah, what happened?
I don't know. You're in the dark.
I'm really not, though. That's
That's
so
weird.
weird. Do you want me to close out and do you want to invite me back?
Come back. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Do it and then come
Okay.
back. Hold on. Okay, so hold on. We're gonna get her on here. Um, okay, we'll bring Karen on here. Karen was on yesterday, and okay, it's connecting to you, and she works in this area um, to help young people and old people and me and you to better understand what's appropriate and not, and sex trafficking, other kinds of abuse. What she specializes in. Used to work up in the Portland area and go out and speak to groups and organizations and work with the police department and all that kind of stuff to do this. So we're really lucky to have her here. Oh, hold on, Vanessa. I want to see. I like talking to other people. Hi, Vanessa Grant. A friend just shared with me. I went into the workforce 30 years ago, stay-at-home mom. Horrible experience with a man who was vulgar and made constant sexual comments to me. I'm sorry, Vanessa. Hi, Julie. Hey, Rick, how are you? Desi, I am fine. I think it would be helpful to have more women in positions of power. That sounds like a great idea. Um, yeah, I agree, Grace. Well, it's not going to hurt, um, but somewhere it seems like um, we really need to be able to talk about this stuff openly. And I think the problem is it's a real touchy thing, and it makes it hard to do. Karen, I'm going to try this again. It's not letting you do that. hmm I'm going to check. Here we go. Bring Karen on camera. Okay, so it says it's inviting you. There we
Hi,
are.
here we go. I'm
Okay.
outside. I have bad internet.
Okay. So what do we do? I mean, isn't this kind of shocking after yesterday?
Oh my God. Oh, my internet is not working good.
Can you put it? Is your service? Can you take it off Wi-Fi and go with your phone service?
I'm gonna walk downstairs.
Because we can hear you. So if any of you guys have ideas, I would love to hear them. Or
Am I there?
yeah, I can hear you. Your face is stuck up. You look like you're in pain, but I think you look fine.
I'm frozen, huh?
Yeah, you're frozen, but I can hear you.
Okay, that works for me.
So Karen, okay, so what do we do at this point?
At this point, I think what we do is we support and we encourage and we just kind of stand back and see what we can do for people. Always in these situations, especially if it's somebody that you know and you're close to, see what you can do for them. It's not a matter of like, hey, let me know if you need anything. It's a matter of, can I bring your family dinner? Can I help run some errands for you? Can I take your kids off your hands for a couple hours and give you some time for just to have some downtime? And at this point, I think that's the best thing we can do is just support those who are going through this and who are coming out.
So Karen, here's another question for you. I would
Okay.
bet that when something like this happens, if you're a woman who this has happened to, or that you've been raped or assaulted or treated like this, that this has to bring a flood of emotion up and a bunch of shit that you just don't know quite what to do with.
Absolutely, absolutely. So going back to what I always say is like, go get counseling. One of my favorite things to do is sit down with a journal, find a good book, find a friend you can talk to. Friends can take you through so far, and then you might need counseling as well. But yeah, if this is bringing up triggers for you, go seek help. Don't wait. Go seek it right away.
And a good warning for the rest of us is be very careful what you're saying in public, not to be paranoid or because somebody might yell at you. But here's what I've learned the hard way is you may be making a comment and saying, well, gosh, I liked Matt Lair and da 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 da. when woman next to you was assaulted as a child by her father or someone, you don't know that, and you have now just added to her trauma because of your comment. You know what I mean? I mean, just being very sensitive that there's a lot of women in our culture who would fit into this description, and you don't, and they don't wear a sign that says, "Hi, I was abused by my boss," or somebody made a comment to me. So there's going to be some real tender feelings out there.
Right. Absolutely. And we didn't really get into statistics yesterday, and I don't love statistics because there's a lot of misinformation, I feel like, in them. But statistically, 1 in 3 households deals with domestic violence. So if it's not happening in your house, it's happening to
Wow.
your right or your left. 1 in 4 women are sexually
Wow.
assaulted, and 1 in 6 boys are sexually assaulted. So reality is, if you're in a room of 40 women, 10 of them statistically have been sexually assaulted in their lifetime. So not my favorite thing to always talk about, but yeah, you need to be careful, because if you, especially if you have, and I have lived this world before, so I'm not being nice noisy neighbor car. I'm not being judgmental here, but
That's a,
especially if you live in a situation where you're like, gosh, I just can't believe that that happens to anyone. Reality is that probably the people you're saying that to, something has happened to them, and no one's opened up to you
right.
because you're not ready to hear it yet. And it's hard. There are things I'm
So
not
Karen,
ready to hear.
so Karen, when that happens to somebody, does it? I'm trying to be really sensitive here, and not be. But just let me ask questions, people. Okay, so don't jump on me if I say something wrong or something. But I mean, that really damages you for a long time, doesn't it? I mean, how do you ever go
It does.
back? And I don't mean in a depressing way, because I think that we learn from experiences in our lives, and look at, you're out talking to the world and doing things. And so there's a real positive that you've made a positive out of situations that you've heard about and people you've worked with. But it really
Uh-huh.
can be like an anchor tied around someone's leg, if they don't go get some assistance, that you're dragging a ball and
Absolutely.
chain around with you. And that's so,
Yeah,
so
and that
sad.
ball and chain
Somebody else put,
can come
you
and
do that to
go.
yourself, that's your business. But when you start doing it to other people, when you put somebody else in that position once, that's really hard.
Yeah, it really is.
So
And you can go
what else would you say?
about, is
Go ahead,
that
honey.
you're never, oh, sorry, it keeps breaking up. You're never fully done taking care of yourself. I'm not a huge fan of like um, the over the top self care. You need all the massages and the whatever. You do need to take care of yourself, but not to a point where you're being selfish. But in this case, you do need to know that the self-care is never done, that maybe you've gone through counseling and you've dealt with it before, but now you have triggers that are coming up because of the recent information that's coming out. Take care of yourself again, whatever that is that you need to do. If it's, like I said, counseling, if it's journaling, if it is going to go get a massage, whatever it is, take care of yourself, and know when those triggers come up that you are going to need a moment to step back away and go, okay, I need to deal with this again. And take care of whatever you need to do. If it's counseling, if it's talking to a friend, reaching out to a pastor, whatever it might be, make sure you're taking care of yourself. Laura, I understand exactly where you're coming from. It is very raw as all of this information is coming up.
I think that, I mean, and I'm not trying to relate. I'm trying to say, I think I understand that feeling, because as a cancer survivor, I'm getting better. But it used to be every time I'd hear somebody that died from cancer, my emotional, I would get bitchy and angry and kind of, I can do it now, a little weepy, because it was,
Yeah.
um, it puts it back in my face that that could still happen to me, or that I was a cancer survivor. I guess I am a cancer survivor. I didn't want to be a cancer survivor. I didn't want to have cancer. But it puts it back in your
Right.
life where you have to deal with it. And,
Yeah.
somebody will die of prostate cancer, and I'm going, am I coming back? Is this going to happen to me again? And I think that's got to be the same sort of feeling. It's like, it makes you really vulnerable. and it makes you emotional, and it makes you a little unpredictable, and
Mhm.
in my case, it makes me a little bitchy and a tiny bit angry, um, and those are all okay things. Um,
Yeah.
that's what you mean by self-care. Understand that about yourself. Remember that. And my wife is really good about this. She'll always go, honey, I think it's getting close to your next checkup. And that's why you're getting a little bitchy. And then you
Right.
realize, and you go,
Exactly.
oh, because for me, it's just kind of acknowledging that, going, oh, giving myself the right. And by giving myself the right to do that, it helps me put it in check a little better. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. There's something called,
Okay.
there was a study done, it's called ACEs, and it's Adverse Childhood Experiences. And there, you can look that up. There's a lot of information online about it. But I think that we have adverse experiences as adults as well they just pave our future in how we handle different situations, whether that's you've lost a close friend or you've personally battled cancer or somebody close to you has. I think that you can put that into all sorts of different traumatic situations, and they're all adverse experiences that carve who we are today.
Right. And so, is there ever a point, and forgive me if I'm trying to, just forgive me, and you can correct me. You can, I mean, Karen knows too. She can slap me if she wants to. Um, but is there ever a point where you kind of take this and you go, okay, you know what? That's part of my past. It was not good, but
Mhm.
it has also, because for me as a cancer survivor, it's made me kind of who I am, and not that I would ever choose that, but there is some strength that comes out of that, because it's like, good God, I survived that thing, and that's how
Right.
I look at people who survive sexual abuse and rape and those kind of things. I look and go, oh my God, I don't think I could ever do that. And look at the how powerful they are. And I think that the women who are turning in Lauer and all these other people, I mean, how hard that had to be. And then this point where
Yeah.
you know, they're not feeling this today. They're probably feeling like just, all the other emotions that go along with that. But at some point, it's like, man, you really stuck up for yourself. And there has to be something that comes from that. You know what I mean?
Yes, yes. There's definitely a survivor mentality that comes along at a certain point, and I think for each person that probably is a different point, whether that's therapy or whatnot. It's a different point of it, and I think that's a lot why last week when I was watching the USA Gymnastics girls talk about it, and I was like, those girls are so empowered right now to speak out and to be a
Yeah. Yeah.
survivor, and that to me was an amazing just even personal emotions behind it was incredible because I'm like those girls are so powerful. Like I was incredibly proud of how empowered they were and the survival mentality that they have even in the hardest of hard situations.
And so, for a clarification point on my part, because I think through things, because I read comments, and nobody's said anything yet, but I'm not equating surviving cancer with a sexual assault.
Right.
They're two different
Right.
things. I'm trying to find a way that I have something I can relate to in this conversation. So that's all I'm trying to do. If anybody out there is on, I would personally, if I'm just going to say this to me, I would rather survive cancer than ever survive what these women have
Yeah.
gone through. I can't
Yeah.
even imagine. I feel lucky to have had cancer. That's something I can go in and they can zap it, and then I can deal with my emotions. But the
Right.
other, what anybody that's been through that, or I would never equate that to what I have gone through, because that is
Abs-
so. Just for the
Absolutely.
record, so people understand,
There's still
I
adverse
don't try to trivialize
experiences.
things.
They're just on a different level. Yeah. And Heather, I am so
Right,
proud of
a
you.
way
I'm
different.
so proud of you, Heather. You're amazing. I've known
How do
Heather
we
for
change
quite
the
a number
narrative
of
when people
years.
are, oh, okay, just a show. Keep talking. As a child victim, it's raw today as it was then. Oh, Laura, I'm so sorry. I haven't been keeping up on these comments coming in here. Um, being vulnerable and sharing gives others permission to come and speak. Maybe do the first time. Yeah. Well, hopefully, I said earlier, Karen, before you were on here like this, maybe wouldn't that be nice to start from here on out where the culture is completely different, where it's okay to tell, and people are listening, and that has to, okay. So we're going to take a positive out of this. That
Yep.
is a huge step, and honestly, I mean, it's been hundreds of years coming. But in the matter of time like that it's just all of a sudden it's bam, 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 bam. I mean, there's a mood where it feels like dominoes are just like, you know?
Yeah, and I think that's because we're finally seeing some action behind when people are being accused now. Like there's actually people following through and doing the right things. I mentioned earlier in my comments before I was on, look up the Kesha story sometime. It's heart-wrenching to know what the courts put her through. They made her stay in her record contract. It was her producer. They made her stay in her record contract and work with him. They didn't let her out
Wow.
of anything, and there was massive evidence behind it that he had been sexually assaulting her for years since she was very young. And so I think for a long time that set the precedence for, this is awful. No one can speak out.
Right.
Why would you do it if that's what you're going to go through?
Well, Karen, I love the fact that I know you, especially when this kind of topic comes up, because you have a really kind heart and you understand. Without
Thanks.
sharing your life, you understand what people are talking about, you know?
Yeah.
And it's nice to be able to go toss to you because there's a bunch of people out there benefiting from this conversation, and we're not going to let it stop or die or anything like that.
Yeah.
I think it's good, and I feel like I'm out of my element as a guy, but I could at least provide a platform and ask questions that us men kind of think. So, and Laura just said thank you,
Exactly.
Karen, too. So
You
it's
have the audience
awesome
for
for
this,
people to
so
feel.
it's perfect. You got the audience, and we can chat anytime.
That's right. All right, my darling. Thank you for being here, you guys.
Bye.
Thanks for being here. And if you have a fun thing, tune in today at 2 o'clock. I'm going to be walking downtown a little bit and going to meet a guy. What is his name? Tony. And Tony plays the trumpet, and we're going to be in downtown Eugene. He plays Christmas music, and this guy's on his way to New York to kind of, if he can make it there, he'll make it anywhere. So we're just going to go meet him. It's a free show, doesn't cost him anything. Nobody's paying for it. We're just going to go do it and have fun. So I need to pick up some other work here. Pass this on to people you know that might benefit from the conversation we just had. And take a deep breath. There's this great line in my favorite book, and it says, "This too shall pass." And I think about that a lot. This too shall pass.